We're a tech podcast talking about software. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of just talking about the platforms, the processes, the tech, we're going to go deeper into the actual mindset. Inside sales success is more than just software. And talk about credible. My co-host Nick and I are interviewing Ralph Barsi. Ralph has 30 plus years of experience leading sales teams in tech companies. And throughout his career, he's built out from the ground up sales development rep organizations. Ralph and I worked together at a company called Inside View that was acquired by Demandbase. A very exciting time. And of course, we're going to talk about the challenges that you face in sales, which we know are really opportunities, right? Opportunities for growth. And Ralph covers a tactic. There's an acronym for it's PAR, problem, action, result. And this is a framework that Ralph describes to really streamline conversation in a structured manner that generates results. One of the other things that we cover in this episode are the traits of inside sales, one of which is social selling. And LinkedIn is a critical platform to doing so in the B2B world. Ralph covers the context of your content and how to maximize your network beyond just LinkedIn into other social platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, etc. Ralph is an avid reader and believes that even just one paragraph can be a pivotal moment in a sales rep's career. Sales is hard, really hard, and showing up with that positive mindset is really a game changer. Sure, the tools, the technology matter, but how you show up every day matters even more. And like I do in every episode, I chime in with my retail spin. I always like to cover something related to the retail industry. In this particular episode, I talk about Amazon books. Get ready, grab that cup of coffee, because we're going to dive into how Ralph has done it and how you can be as successful as possible in inside sales.
Hello. Get ready for some tech talk over coffee, where we filter through the latest digital tech, one sip at a time. Welcome to The Filtered Brew, a tech podcast all about software. Your host is digital consultant Preston Hurd. So join us for a cup of coffee, and let's get into what's brewing on today's menu. In this episode, we are interviewing Ralph Barsi. We're excited to welcome Ralph to the show. He is a seasoned revenue leader with more than 30 years of experience in tech sales, helping software companies build scalable go-to-market systems and high-performing teams that drive pipeline, efficiency, and predictable growth. Throughout his career, Ralph has built and scaled BDR and SDR teams, managing and mentoring hundreds of sales professionals across multiple tech organizations. Ralph previously worked with our host, Preston Hurd, at the tech startup Inside View, where Ralph led inside sales. Since then, Inside View was acquired by Demandbase, and Ralph has gone on to lead inside sales teams at companies like ServiceNow and Tray.io. He's currently the VP of Revenue Growth at Kahua. Ralph has also become well known in the sales leadership community as a prominent speaker and podcast guest. While the Filtered Brew podcast is all about software, this conversation goes beyond tools and tactics. We're really focusing on different aspects of the inside sales skill sets, because that's an essential component of selling software in today's world. We'll be unpacking the sales mindset that's required for success, especially for inside sales reps. My name is Nick. Also joining us is your host, digital consultant Preston Hurd, bringing his unique retail spin to the conversation. So grab your cup of coffee and get ready. Here's our interview with Ralph Barsi. Hi, Ralph. Thanks for joining us today, and welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Nick.
Thanks, Nick. Ralph, thanks so much for being here. I remember when we worked together back at a tech company in San Francisco called Inside View, you actually interviewing me, and it really stuck with me. You were whiteboarding the funnel and talking about lead generation, demand generation, and how that equates to inside sales, and just really also have been an inspiration for me in my career with your positive outlook, What an exciting time there between the course of your time and my time at Inside View, where we were doubling sales every year and doubling the size of the sales force. I think we raised over the course of our times at Inside View close to $100 million. And just what an exciting time.
And Ralph, one of the things that I noticed listening to quite a few of your podcasts was that a few times you've shared what you've referred to as your 5 philosophies. I was wondering how some or all of these 5 philosophies could be applied when working as an inside sales rep.
Oh, I love it, and I appreciate it. The 5 philosophies come from quotes that have inspired me throughout my career. So I'll read the 5 out loud, and then maybe we can talk about how they apply to inside sales. The good news is all 5 of them apply in many respects to inside sales. The first philosophy or quote comes from Brian Tracy, and it is, get serious about your career. Decide today to be a big success in everything you do. So this one to me is all about raising your standards. Whatever your role, you should strive to become an expert. This allows you to obviously build credibility, rapport, reliability, not just with prospects and customers, but with your peers and with your colleagues and the stakeholders that you work with. It's important, obviously, to learn and absorb and then apply and contribute what you've learned to the marketplace. So many people say they're going to do something and then they do something else or they do nothing at all. So this encourages you to become a woman or a man of your word. And then also, you're going to want to help people get what they want. You need to serve. And inside sales and sales in general is a service business. So be of service. The second philosophy is a quote from the late Jim Rohn. And it is, success is something you attract by becoming an attractive person. It's not something you pursue. So stop chasing it. Instead, you need to fix yourself first. Once you change yourself, everything will change for you. Also, the more value you bring to the marketplace, the more valuable you become. So if you just think for a moment about the inside sales role, its focus is typically centered on chasing prospects, prospecting into accounts, prospecting into personas and contacts within those accounts, and just chasing people down. Instead, what you should be doing as an A-player inside sales rep is focusing on what are the industry trends that you could be talking about? What are the 3 to 5 critical business issues that, like personas that you are prospecting into, are facing? And what are the potential solutions and fixes to those problems that you can talk about, whether it's through a blog, whether it's in your initial emails to them, or whether it's in your opening lines of your talk track when you finally do engage with them on the phone. That in turn allows you to kind of attract the opportunities to you versus pursue them. The third philosophy comes from the U.S. Navy SEALs. It's one of my favorites. It's, you're not here to survive this. You're here to take charge of it. So for inside sales reps and leaders out there, this is all about taking initiative, asking questions, finding the purpose behind everything. It's really important to find 2 solutions to every problem before escalating it. More often than not, we have inside sales reps running into problems in the day-to-day grind that they are part of, which is super normal and super healthy, but don't bring the problem to your leader without some potential solution for them to think through with you. In fact, that's how they became leaders. That's how they got to the leadership roles they're in today. It's by solving problems. So get really good at taking charge of your career and taking charge of your schedule and taking charge of your remit and responsibilities and learning how to break down problems and solve them. Treat your responsibilities as your business within the business. Own, grow, and be accountable to your business. Lead from the front. The fourth philosophy comes from the late distance runner, Steve Prefontaine from the University of Oregon. And he once said, to give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. So to me, this means that we're all here for a reason. We all have unique gifts that are wasted if they're not shared. We all come with our own unique strengths. if we did what we were capable of, we would astound ourselves. That's another great quote from Thomas Jefferson. So it encourages us to leave it all out there every day. We need to go to bed exhausted from serving others. The last philosophy is a Zen proverb. A student approaches the master and says, "I'm discouraged. What should I do?" And the master replies, "Encourage others." So this one to me is about, stop focusing so much on yourself. The same applies to your emails, your phone calls, when you're building and developing your network, when you're working alongside your teammates and your colleagues. Stop thinking about you. Stop talking about your company, the company's history, the latest version of your company's product, etc. Start facing outward and thinking and serving and being about other people. And you'll find that your life gets exponentially better when you adopt that mindset and that approach. So that, in summary, is what the 5 philosophies are all about and how they can apply to inside sales.
Ralph, I think you've got some great quotes there. The one that I really latch on to is number 3. You're not here to survive this. You're here to take charge of it. And on top of what you said, got to just stress it's all about initiative and taking that initiative to almost do the buyer's work and serve up to the buyer the right solution at the right time.
And then, I got to say, all of those really inspiring. I feel like the one that resonated with me especially was that last Zen proverb. Because how can you continue to be discouraged when you're being a source of encouragement for others? I feel like that's something I got to carry with me in my day-to-day. I also noticed that you are a very avid reader. There's a gigantic list of books on your website that you do recommend. What's the one book you'd recommend that all inside sales reps read?
Wow, I appreciate that, Nick. Yes, I am a voracious reader, constantly gobbling up nuggets of wisdom from these books. The key about becoming a reader is if a topic of a book appeals to you at all, it's worth investing in and reading, because there just might be one paragraph in that book or one sentence that can really serve as a pivot point for you. So I highly recommend kind of diving into books if you haven't yet. If I were to name one atop the list that I think all inside sales reps and leaders should read, it would be Wooden on Leadership, which is by the late coach John Wooden of UCLA basketball. And it was co-written by Steve Jameson, who also co-authored another great book called The Score Takes Care of Itself with former coach Bill Walsh from the San Francisco 49ers. So what I love about Wooden on Leadership is, to me, it's about life. It opens up with Coach Wooden's pyramid of success. And the pyramid really illustrates how success is built on traits like enthusiasm, loyalty, cooperation, friendship, industriousness, and others. And then it goes through lessons of leadership. And these really align with my values and the way I like to approach a leadership role, which is another reason it's my favorite and the one I recommend the most. Some of the lessons include: do everything with love for others, for your work, for the craft, for the profession. Do it with love. Also, leaders must see themselves as teachers, guides, coaches, Sherpas, whatever analogy you want to bring to the table. They are pretty much at the bottom of an org chart. If you were to look at, your typical corporate org chart, the leaders should be at the bottom, serving up and into the organization versus casting their wisdom from atop the mountain, looking down on their underlings. That's not a vibe that aligns well with me and the way I work. So I like the approach of seeing a leader as a teacher or a guide. Also, good values attract good people. Again, very similar to what we were talking about with the 5 philosophies, how you need to attract things to you versus pursue them by working on yourself. Little things make big things happen. So pay attention to the most minute details and don't look at the scoreboard. As a leader, if you're focused on your individual reps, and them performing at their best and performing 100%, and everyone is flying in formation, no one on the team, including yourself, really needs to look at the scoreboard much anymore because you're going to win. It is inevitable. So those are just some nuggets from Wooden on leadership that make it the number one recommendation from me.
I gotta say, one really cool thing in the industry is Amazon.com, who, of course, started out in books, launched a brick and mortar retail store called Amazon Books. And along with that, Amazon 4-star, all the best 4-star rated products. And I have found in Amazon Books, they are really featuring the best books for business innovation, technology. So for somebody like me that really wants to find the top sellers and the best books that are out there, that's a great resource.
Awesome. And then if I could shout out one book on that recommended list, I did check out the audio version of Ultra Learning, which, as somebody, as somebody who has been really looking for the perfect way to study, perfect way to pick up a skill, I feel like that one gave some good insights. I'm definitely going to try to apply some of that stuff.
Such a great one, Nick.
As you were mentioning with your leadership philosophy, one overarching thing I've noticed is that you seem to be able to stay very positive, which I feel is something that could help a lot of people, especially during these times. How does one stay positive throughout the ups and downs of working in a sales role?
Well, thank you. It's not easy, but it's important. The way that I'm able to stay positive, I think first and foremost is I practice developing an attitude of gratitude. I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that I can see. I'm grateful that I can hear you clearly right now and that I can articulate the message I'm trying to convey to this audience. If you consider your job and the income you earn, you'll become more grateful, believe it or not. For example, if you earn $40,000 a year in the United States, and let's say you support 2 children as well, you're still in the richest 10% of the global population. Your income is more than 7x the global median. So I think if you just pause for a moment and take stock and take inventory of all that you do have, not just material wise, but people wise, the people that you have in your life. And if you're blessed to have good health and you're taking care of yourself and your loved ones around you are in good health, that's enough fuel for you to remain positive. And frankly, in the inside sales or sales world, people want to work with people who shed light. When they brighten up a room when they walk into it, they don't suck the life out of it. No one really wants to hang out with someone who's a constant Eeyore or rain cloud, because it ends up bringing down the entire team. And there's this collective attitude of, this is really a bummer, and I don't think we're going to make it. And I'm not sure, we've got everything kind of pointing in our direction the right way, et cetera. That gets kind of old and tired. So I like to surround myself with people who are grateful and who are positive and who are serving others. And all of that kind of informs my positive attitude and approach to life.
Thanks, Ralph. You certainly are a positive guy. I got to hand it to you for just having worked together and seen the growth and development in your career and running inside sales teams, how you lead such an example. And I think also that you're really not only positive throughout the ups and downs, but a part of what you do, I would call servant leadership, which I'm a huge believer in. You really do roll up your sleeves, help somebody that's younger in their career, a BDR, an SDR, to keep that positive can-do attitude, work hard, absolutely, but leading by example as a servant leader as well. And I think that that's so important.
And I think positivity, that's probably going to be among the things mentioned in this question. What are some of the traits of a good inside sales rep, and how does that relate to using LinkedIn versus cold calls versus emails versus social selling?
Oh, wow. What a good, what a good one, Nick. Yeah, absolutely. Positivity should be atop that list. I'll give you a few traits. There's countless traits that we could talk through, but I think, in addition to positivity, four key ones that I would think about. Number one, again, great attitude. Be that one that's shedding light versus sucking life out of the situation. You might want to just turn up your positivity a notch or two when you are typing an email to someone or leaving a voicemail or making that first phone call or reaching out to connect with them on LinkedIn. Be authentic though. Don't be fake in your positivity. If you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it. Also, when you do reach out to someone on LinkedIn to request a connect with them, do it with a message, for crying out loud. A lot of people will blindly just, request to connect without any context or color. And most people have no idea who you are. I hate to break it to you. Nor do they know why you're reaching out to connect with them. So send them a quick message as to why you'd like to connect. That all goes into your attitude towards the craft and towards the profession. Second trait I would recommend is discipline and determination. I would throw that in there. These obviously influence action and execution, getting stuff done. So be disciplined and determined in what you do. A third trait would be organization. Inside sales reps, inside sales leaders, sales reps, people who are in our profession have lots of what I call spinning plates that they need to keep spinning. There's a constant need to orchestrate and facilitate daily activities, brokering of introductions, building and cultivating of your network, et cetera. So you've got to be organized. You've got to kind of know what your plan is for each day, each week, month, quarter, et cetera. Lastly, but not in the least, you have to be a great communicator. It's imperative that you know how to communicate well. I believe that clear writers are clear thinkers. The best inside sales reps and leaders that I've worked with in my career, they have a beginning, middle, and end to their talk tracks. They ask more open-ended questions versus yes-no questions. They don't put themselves up against the wall by asking too many yes-no questions. Hey, is this a good time to talk? No. Uh-oh, now I have to come up with another question before this person hangs up on me or walks away from me. So I have to hone my skills in asking open-ended questions and engaging more dialogue. Also, respect and hold sacred the next steps phase. Oftentimes we're up on time. We've got like 30 seconds to go before we have to head out. And that does not afford you an opportunity to talk through, well, what are the next steps? What's the best way for me to communicate with you and the team moving forward? Does next week work best in terms of our next meeting, or is it more in line with next month or next quarter? It's really important that you hold sacred, as I said, that next steps phase. So those are a couple traits that come to mind. Again, there's a countless list, but for the sake of time, those are the key ones in my book.
Thanks, Ralph. Again, great insight. One thing that I might consider is within manufacturers' arena of social selling, it's not necessarily all about LinkedIn. Sure, the VP of sales is going to be out there on LinkedIn, but the brands are typically marketing to consumers. And a lot of that is done on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok.
Thanks, Preston. You're right in that LinkedIn seems very B2B, and I see a lot of brands that are really B2B to C, to reach the retailer's consumers by using other social platforms as well. And by the way, how about adding podcasts into that mix too? How could someone overcome some of the barriers to success in inside sales? Then I think you did touch on one of these in your previous answer, which was obscurity.
That's right. That's a great question, Nick. There are 5 barriers that I've written about before and spoken about before that I feel are the same exact barriers that prevent sales reps from hitting quota year over year, decade over decade. I've seen these same 5 barriers surface in so many different scenarios. Obscurity is the first of them. The second one is lack of focus. The third is inactivity. The fourth is no flow, whether it's in conversation or in daily processes. And the last barrier is just the failure to keep improving. We talked about becoming a voracious reader and, gleaning all the nuggets of wisdom that come from so many books. You have to continue to improve your craft, all facets of it. So don't lose sight of that as probably one of your top barriers keeping you from hitting quota. No conversation flow, again, comes from having a beginning and middle and an end to what it is you're saying. Typically, I follow a mind map, which is an acronym of PAR: problem, action, result. So if I'm speaking with a prospect or customer, I'll typically start with gloom and doom of the critical business issue or problem that many folks in their role are trying to overcome. But because we can take action on that problem, break it up into pieces and, identify all the different components of that problem and solve each in its own right, that's going to yield the results or the outcomes that we want. And when I can speak to a prospect or customer in those terms, it comes off as pretty smooth, but it's simply me following that acronym in my head so I don't lose track of where I am in my talk track. That third barrier I talked about, inactivity, a lot of people wake up in the morning, they got that cup of coffee, they might exercise, have a really healthy breakfast, or they might sleep in. Well, you're not doing much towards making your number. It is a numbers game at the end of the day, and you have to respect that game in order to be successful consistently, and you need to sustain that success. And in order to do it, you actually have to execute and do the work. So don't let inactivity become a prominent barrier in your career. The second one I mentioned was lack of focus. We're hit by a deluge of information on a second by second basis today, with our phones, and we've got CRM systems giving us notifications, and we have great applications like Slack where there's a lot of chatter and talk going on in the workplace, and we want to address messages as they come in real time, but a lot of those become distractions. So you need to stay focused on the end game and what it is you're here to do and go to work. And then that first one we talked about is obscurity. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people don't know who you are. So when you send them that email, those who are interested, if you write a halfway compelling email, for example, or leave a decent voicemail or message, they're going to want to look you up. And when they Google search you, more often than not, one of the first search results that will surface will be your LinkedIn profile. So take a look at your profile. Look at everything from your profile pic to your heading and summary to how you explain your career path, where you went to school and what accomplishments you want to talk about. That will help build your brand. It will also help the prospect kind of do their due diligence on their time. Let them study up your credibility, your product, et cetera, and make the decision on their own before they decide to reply to you. But of course, if there's nothing out there that they can learn from, it's going to be a really hard time. And I'll finish with this, Nick. It's really important. A lot of leaders struggle with hiring top talent, finding top talent. Well, A players want to play for A player coaches. And if they can't find anything about you online, it's going to be tough to get excited to go work for you. So this is my call out to a lot of the leaders out there that just aren't doing much to infuse life into their brand. It's going to make it really tough for people to want to work for you if they don't know anything about you. So avoid obscurity. It's the top of the 5 barriers. And if you can employ any of those actions that I suggested, you're heading north.
Excellent. And yeah, I think that circles back around to one of the 5 philosophies to attract success, be an attractive person.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Thanks, Ralph. I mean, that is the fun of it, right? The barriers, the challenges are really opportunities. And the one I got to pick up on is inactivity. I think procrastination and inactivity comes from a place of fear. And it's all about being fearless and not being afraid to fail. And that confidence actually projects positive outcomes, because I know when I'm talking to a Walmart buyer, if I express the excitement and that this is going to really help them to drive the in-store revenue, the .com revenue that they're trying to achieve, that they can feel that energy and get on board with that.
And Ralph, it's been great talking to you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much, Nick. It's been an honor and pleasure.
I appreciate the positivity. It's been a pleasure to stay in touch throughout our careers. What's the best way for our audience to get in touch with you if they'd like to reach out?
Oh, thanks so much, Preston. Best way to reach me is via LinkedIn. You can look me up. It's on LinkedIn. I'm Ralph Barsi. On Twitter, it's @rbarsi. And I also have a blog, which is ralphbarsi.com. And there are many channels to get to me. I'm pretty easy to contact.
Thank you. And thank you, Nick.
Thank you. We really gained some great insights from Ralph Barsi about inside sales, but the real takeaway goes beyond the tech itself. What really stood out was the mindset required to succeed, focusing on discipline, consistency, attitude, and genuine customer engagement. Inside sales isn't just about the software, the tools, or processes. It's really about how leaders empower their teams and how sellers show up every day. Be sure to connect on LinkedIn too. Profile links will be included in the podcast description, and to subscribe to our YouTube podcast for the latest episodes. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Filtered Brew podcast. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and took away some insights that you can apply to your own digital strategy. Be sure to visit thefilteredbrew.com. It's the place to go for the latest software tech insights and where you can find more episodes and additional resources. If you liked what you heard today, don't forget to follow, rate, and share the show. It really helps us grow and reach more listeners like you. This has been the Filtered Brew podcast, where conversations are crafted, refined, and brewed to perfection. Until next time, keep your ideas brewing and visit thefilteredbrew.com.